Have you ever seen a hammer hang in the air and suddenly time itself hold its breath? The arena smells of damp sawdust, warm light strikes a sweaty back, and the bay foal trembles its lip in the corner as if apologizing for its very existence. You would have walked right past it. Almost everyone does. But something pricks at you, subtle yet insistent, urging you to look again. You notice the inverted whorl on its flank, as discreet as an ancient signature. You see hooves narrower than the standard for its supposed dam. You note ears a finger's breadth shorter, a rare inheritance from a lineage that, officially, isn't even supposed to be there. You find your voice and pose the simple question, is there a DNA test? Silence. A creak of wood, the handler's nervous whistle, half avert their gaze, the other half feign deafness. The scene seems minor, but its implications are vast. In the catalog, the foal is listed as the son of X, grandson of Y, from line Z, boasting a show-stopping pedigree. Yet a pristine pedigree doesn't build bone, nor does it correct faults, and sometimes it conceals a dangerous burden, the genetics no one wants to acknowledge. Nature doesn't read catalogs. It shuffles the deck, rewards keen observation, and punishes blind faith. This is where the detail almost no one notices comes into play. A detail that forever alters how you interpret a document. If you stay, I'll show you how a consistent maternal line and a well-managed F are worth more than fleeting trends, and why this discerning eye protects your horse's health, temperament, and future. Have you ever felt that something doesn't quite add up when faced with an overly perfect pedigree? Hold that thought. The next step opens the window. Before paper pedigrees and show rings with loud music, there was low firelight, wind on the face, and people who read mares as if reading destiny. Bedouins named families after the great-great-grandmother who saved water in the desert. Gypsies matched gallop with cadence without formal records. You feel that legacy when a herd moves in unison. Modernity froze a snapshot in the stud book, the ledger that closes the door and dictates who enters. It worked for a time. 3 Oriental stallions, British mares filtered by famine and war, and a distinct type emerged. But nature doesn't read books. With each generation, it shuffles the deck and, at times, embeds a flaw. Then, marketing climbed into the saddle, golden lineage, epic catalogs, a spotlight on the display, and risk vanished from the conversation. The same gene that confers a high gait can simultaneously weaken tissue. The same family that bestows courage can carry a silent defect. You feel it in your gut when something doesn't quite align, but the clamor of the arena often drowns it out. What few understand about a cool head and respect begins long before the halter. Temperament is polygenic and shaped by the environment. Trauma-free weaning, calm handling, ample space, and social interaction. The hippocampus learns pathways. The amygdala registers frights. 2 offspring from the same sire, 2 destinies. The difference, almost invariably, lies with the dam and early life experiences. Another pitfall, to assume that 5 brilliant progeny render the sire a miracle multiplier. Statistics invariably regress everything to the mean. The apex is showcased, the base concealed. You purchase the peak, but inherit the curve. It's painful to concede, yet it liberates your perception and makes room to observe the horse, not merely the pedigree. There's also the silent mathematics at play. Detrimental recessive genes lie dormant for generations. Through inbreeding, you increase the likelihood of homozygous gene pairings. Sometimes, it fixes desirable traits. Often, it ignites an unseen alarm. The F coefficient serves as a beacon. Excessively high for too long, it diminishes vigor, fertility, and immunity. It may appear refined. It is fragile. Now, envision 2 catalogs. In one, pedigrees that gleam. In the other, clinical history, genetic screenings, calculated F coefficient, considered outcrosses. One peddles promise and hype. The other delivers probability and robust health, which resonates with what you feel when you cup a muzzle and the breathing is deep and even. Grasp yet another crucial insight. Cellular energy is inherited maternally, via mitochondria. Consistent maternal lines repeatedly exhibit rapid recovery, enduring pulmonary capacity, and mental resilience. It's not mysticism, it's subtle biology. And there's a detail on the pedigree that ties all of this together. Once you learn to discern it, your wagers will shift. Have you observed a trembling lip, a dull gaze, a nostril that doesn't fully close? In the next step, you'll interpret these signs simultaneously in the pedigree and on the animal's physical form. You then unfurl the pedigree as one would an ancient map. You seek the matrilineal descent to the first registered mare. This is the tail female line. Now, The specific detail. Does the maternal grandam's name reappear elsewhere, lower down on the opposite side? This cross-generational repetition, typically in the third or fourth generation, often anchors subtle yet enduring traits. Rapid recovery, a more compliant mouth, a composed demeanor after a fright. You verify this against the physical animal. Nostrils that close rhythmically, ears that swivel back towards you after a sharp sound. The skin on the neck glides under a brief stroke. These are minor indicators. If the pedigree promises maternal vigor, the body silently corroborates it. On a cold morning, you visit an aged mare with an unassuming coat and sagacious eyes. Her name is Bruma, 3 distinct offspring from 3 fashionable sires, all sharing the same distinguishing characteristic. When they miss a stride, they do not succumb to panic. They breathe and try again. You return to the catalog. Bruma's grandmother, appearing 4 times in the first 4 generations. It's not luck, it's a pattern. Science helps to elucidate this. Mitochondria, maternally inherited, fuel muscle and brain. Bloodlines with a robust engine consistently exhibit short recovery times. Behavioral studies reveal another facet. Foals emulate their mother's calm demeanor during their initial weeks. Reduced cortisol, enhanced learning, genetics and environment interact. One merely needs to listen. Now, consider the inverse. A pedigree with a legendary stallion stacked repeatedly upon himself. Easy brilliance. A high inbreeding coefficient, F, across the last 3 generations. In the paddock, a beautiful yet restless foal. Stiff ears, tongue protruding, tail lashing without an insect in sight. You walk into the sun. His breathing takes a long time to settle. When it does, it's fragmented. The pedigree forewarned. The body screamed. Respect takes on a different connotation when viewed through this lens. It isn't fear. It isn't force. It's predictability. Horses respect those who render their world intelligible, and that begins with selecting animals whose biology is conducive to learning. Do you desire a tractable mind? Choose a mare who perceives the world without reacting explosively, and a pedigree that doesn't stifle with blind repetitions. Practical, straightforward. Before falling in love with a bloodline, ask 3 critical questions. Has the maternal line consistently produced stable temperaments across various crosses? Is the inbreeding coefficient, F, controlled, without recent spikes? Are there genetic tests available for common breed mutations, PSSM, HYPP, HERD-A, GBED, inexpensive compared to the cost of an error? And in their management, confirm the promise. Gradual weaning, stable companionship, forage first, grain second, protected sleep, brief, clear, repeated touch. You nourish the hippocampus with simple maps. The amygdala silently concurs, and the horse stores you in a secure place within its memory. One more swift scene. On a windswept highway, you halt the trailer. You open a narrow slit. The foal insists on regarding you with one eye, the other surveying the horizon. You wait. You count his breaths. 4, 3, 2. He closes his nostrils, relaxes his neck. This is the juncture where genetic potential meets real life. And your horse, has he already demonstrated this descent back to calm? Or does he ascend, unable to find equilibrium? In the next step, I will furnish you with the key that completes the cycle. How to transform these indicators and this pedigree into a daily ritual that fosters genuine trust. A simple, 5-minute practice that transforms the entire foundation training process. Will you join me? Ready for the 5-minute ritual. What if, instead of applying pressure, you taught your horse to de-escalate independently? A crisp morning, dust settling, birds encircling the stable. You halt 1.5 meters away. Observe for a full minute. Count the respirations. 8, 10, 12 per minute. Are the nostrils closing and opening equally? Do the ears fixate on sounds or turn back toward you? Here, you gauge the window of tolerance. Second step, approach in waves. 3, brief, light touches on the shoulder. Then you withdraw. Pause. Return. 3 more. No endless massaging. Clarity and space. This is how the parasympathetic system takes its cue. If you observe licking and chewing, slow blinks, and a relaxed neck, you've hit the mark. The opposite is to bombard until it shuts down. Third, you lend rhythm. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Exhale for 6. Your hand rests on the shoulder, indifferent to the outcome. Co-regulation is biology, not mysticism. The vagus nerve appreciates cadence. Sometimes, the first sigh emerges timidly. Sometimes, it takes 30 seconds. When it comes, the ribcage softens. Remember the catalog. This is often where the maternal lineage reveals itself. Fourth, a small request with a clear exit. One step back from the haunches, almost an invitation. Did it yield? You release and offer a micro-rest. If not, you revert a stage, recompose your calm, and attempt a smaller ask. Well-applied negative reinforcement is precise relief, not a struggle. Respect is predictability, a clear stimulus, a feasible response, a deserved rest. Fifth, a controlled fright simulation, a discreet click of the tongue. You observe the peak, ears prick, nostrils flare. Before it escalates further, you return to step 2. Brief touches, a pause, long breathing. You train the de-escalation. It's procedural memory. Today it's a click. Tomorrow it's an umbrella. The contract becomes clear. The world speaks loudly, but you offer the way back. Sixth, conclude the cycle while it's still easy. Walk 10 steps. Stop. Wait for 2 full sakki, round breaths. Scratch the base of the mane for 3 seconds. Depart. The brain retains the last minute most strongly. If the ritual concludes in calm, the next session begins at a lower baseline. 5 minutes before the saddle, 5 minutes after. 30 days. You'll observe fewer struggles, less resistance in the mouth, more searching gazes. Want a live example? Remember Bruma. Her son, a cross with a nervous stallion, arrived snorting. Within 2 weeks of this ritual, the peaks of arousal became shorter. By the 3rd Saturday, he tolerated the gate's noise without losing his composure. The high-strung F-line colt, boasting a legendary pedigree, required more time. Not out of obstinacy, but due to physiology. He learned to de-escalate, but you required smaller doses and more frequent pauses. Now for the insight that transforms the entire training process. The horse reads you as a living pedigree. Your unwavering consistency is the bedrock of effective horsemanship. Your haste is the fatal flaw that severs the lifeblood of your connection. When you offer choice, his brain chooses you. When you offer confusion, he reverts to instinct. And your horse, has he ever exhibited such a downturn? Even a subtle one. What if it became habitual? If this has helped you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. In the next segment, I'll unveil another aspect rarely discussed, the hidden risks in the feed bucket, how certain sugars and minerals sabotage the calm you've just built, and how to adjust the diet so the brain learns better. Want to see where nutrition meets cognition? Join me. What if the restlessness you perceive as disrespect is actually stemming from the feed bucket? High doses of sugar and starch elevate glucose, ignite catecholamines, and shorten the fuse. Then, they plummet. Hunger and irritability ensue. What appears to be stubbornness is, in fact, a metabolic roller coaster. Fiber does the opposite. It releases energy slowly, prolongs chewing, and produces saliva that buffers acid. The horse produces acid all day long. Prolonged fasting leads to pain. An ulcer doesn't scream, it whispers. Ears pinned back at the girth, a mouth gripping the bit, a tail swishing without flies. You perceive an outburst. The body is pleading for relief. Another hidden risk. Starch that bypasses digestion in the small intestine and reaches the hindgut. It ferments improperly. pH levels drop, and beneficial bacteria perish. Toxins increase, and reactivity heightens. Sometimes, laminitis. Other times, merely a hot temperament that's challenging to interpret. Grain isn't inherently bad, but dose and timing are critical. Offer small portions, always after forage. Minerals tell silent stories. Excess iron is common in hay and water. It competes with copper and zinc. The signs: flaky hooves, a dull coat, nerves on edge. Simple adjustments can transform both body and mind, increase zinc and copper, and eliminate unnecessary supplemental iron. Magnesium, if deficient, can temper their responses. It's not a sedative, it's about equilibrium. And alfalfa? While protein supports muscle development, high potassium levels can disrupt electrolytes in some sensitive individuals. Provide free choice plain salt and clean, warm water in cold weather. Electrolytes aren't just for summer. Hydration changes blood. Blood changes the brain. Have you noticed he spooks less when he's well hydrated? Genetics plays a role in the feed bucket. PSSM and related conditions demand a specific approach. Low starch, moderate fat, and regular exercise. Here, diet is neuromuscular management. Test, adjust, observe. You don't fight the gene, you guide the gene. A brief case study. Lyra, a chestnut mare, deemed disrespectful. 3 kilograms of sweet feed. Mornings on an empty stomach. Restricted hay overnight. We transitioned to free choice slow feed hay, low starch concentrate. optimized copper and zinc levels, and a hint of magnesium. Within 2 weeks, the girth biting ceased. After 1 month, a gait spook, and his neck relaxed within 3 breaths. Same training, different feed bucket. The contrast was stark. The fleeting brilliance of molasses versus the steady simplicity of pasture grass. The artificial scent of pellets versus the humble essence of well-cured hay. Seeking obedience? Provide fuel that doesn't betray. Obedience is memory at peace. Peace originates in the gut. Practical, straightforward. Forage as the foundation. If feasible, test your hay's NSE. Administer concentrate in divided portions, always following fiber intake. Ensure plain salt and clean water. Review minerals with a professional. Alter 1 variable at a time. Observe for 10 to 14 days. Document your observations. And your horse, does he become hot or wired after their feed bucket? Does girthing become easier when they've had prior mastication? Have you measured their water intake during winter? Minor data points yield significant decisions. If this proved helpful, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. In the next installment, I will integrate all this with the science of memory, how the equine brain records your presence, why some horses obey while others do not, and the unseen key that transforms mere technique into enduring trust. Do you wish to uncover this hidden truth? Join me. What does your horse register when you depart? It's not the command, it's the state. If the last memory was one of tension, he reopens that file already on alert. If it was calm, he greets you in the valley. Memory is not a vault. It is a garden that rewrites itself with each visit. The hippocampus maps the world in terms of places and routes. It requires predictability to connect the dots. Consistent entries, exits, and pauses at the same cadence. This isn't ritual born of superstition. It is neural architecture. When the map is clear, the body doesn't expend energy on guesswork. The amygdala stores alarms. It learns swiftly, yet unlearns slowly. However, there is a loophole: reconsolidation. Each time a memory is reaccessed, you can edit it with a more positive experience. A brief window, a minor stimulus, a correct outcome, rapid relief. The new version supersedes the old apprehension. Dopamine isn't a reward, it's a messenger of surprise. If what you request is 2 steps beyond capability, it leads to predictive error and frustration. If it's half a step beyond, it engenders curiosity. Train within that half step. Reinforcement is the precisely timed arrival of rest. Physiological contagion exists. Your heartbeat becomes a metronome. If you hold your breath, his body mimics it. Co-regulation isn't magic. It's the vagus nerve attuning to rhythm. That's why I start each day the same way. A minute assessing. A minute lending calm. Only then do I ask. Memory is context dependent. The horse learns the barn gait, not gaits in general. Wish to generalize? Repeat the same request in various locations, starting with the easiest, and always conclude in the state you want him to remember. Sleep seals what training has inscribed. A horse needs to lie down to dream. If the ground is wet, if the paddock is tense, he won't enter REM sleep. Less REM, more irritation. Less learning. A dry bed, stable companionship, nocturnal quietude. This is science, not pampering. Spaced practice trumps intensity. 5 one-minute blocks throughout the day yield more than 1 continuous 5-minute session. The forgetting curve declines rapidly in the initial hours. A brief training hello resurfaces knowledge with low emotional cost. A brief anecdote. The metal gate became a monster for the high-strung foal. Day 1. You introduce the memory only to the threshold where his eye could still perceive you. Pause, breath, departure. Day 2. Same scene, 1 step closer. Day 3. The click of the latch, and you return to the starting point. Day 5. The gate swung shut, and his head lowered with 2 exhalations. Do you perceive the contrast? Force obliterates subtle cues and etches panic in high relief. Patience amplifies whispers and etches security. The same horse, 2 narratives. Which one do you choose to inhabit? 3 practical levers for memory to favor you. Timing. Ask in the valley of calm, not at the peak summit. Marker. Associate a gesture and a brief, consistent word at the moment of relief. Retention. Conclude the session with 3 deliberate breaths in the same secure spot. Simple and repeatable. Errors are inherent. Occasionally, an outburst occurs. Do not correct the past. Swiftly construct the next successful response. A lateral step, a halt, a sigh. The brain retains the last frame. You decide which frame he carries home. And your horse. Does he seek you with a questioning eye or shun you with a wary gaze? Have you tried asking for less, sooner, and disengaging before a breakdown occurs? What if the obedience you seek resides within that brief, clean interval? The truth few articulate. You don't train exercises, you train states. Walk, trot, rain aids serve the body. What endures is the sense of security you provide when all else falters. Respect, then, is his brain choosing you as a place of respite. If this has resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. In the next step, I will reveal what few understand about respect, 4 subtle cues that signal assent or dissent before any action, and how to leverage them to avert conflict and build trust in mere seconds. Do you wish to perceive what has always been present? Join me. What few grasp about respect is its genesis precedes the action. Affirmation and negation emerge in milliseconds, within the body's silent communication. If you read these signals early, conflict is entirely circumvented. First cue, micro-orientation. The ear subtly cants towards you. The gaze softens. It signifies, I am attentive. The inverse is a broad sweep, the sclera prominently displayed. Employ it thus. When the ear acknowledges you, request a half step. If it disengages, pause and take 2 deliberate breaths. Re-engage with less intensity. Second cue, the neck's base. Respect resides at the root of the mane. When it yields into a gentle C-curve, the sternum lowers. The back relaxes. A rigid rod in the throat signals no. An invitation, not a forceful push. Your slow exhalation, a brief touch on the breastplate. Capture the micro-descent with a single step, then release. Third cue, nostril and lip. An oval nostril and soft lip indicate a return to parasympathetic regulation. A high-set triangle and tense lip convey, I cannot. Reduce stimulation. Reiterate the predictable sequence. When the oval returns, mark it with a low voice and a brief respite. Fourth cue, weight distribution. A single gram is significant. If the weight shifts towards you, there is engagement. If it displaces through the shoulder, it anticipates flight. Request when the weight shifts in. If it recedes, ask for an effortless displacement. Alleviate pressure. Inquire with less demand. Respect entails providing an egress when the other signals, not yet. A brief anecdote. During the mounting sequence, you scanned the 4 cues. The ear oriented towards you. The base yielded slightly. The nostril rounded. The weight subtly shifted your way. Foot in stirrup. Pause. The lip tensed. The weight withdrew. You dismounted. Walked 2 steps. Breathed. On the 3rd attempt, all 4 aligned. A clean ascent. A stark contrast. Dominance necessitates force, etching a cultivated fear. Observational discernment requires active listening. Instilling security. Through force, you subdue the body but forfeit the mind. Through attentive listening, you guide the body and gain its trust and recall. The underlying science. These signals mirror the autonomic nervous system. When you capture the yes, you activate the ventral vagal system and foster co-regulation. When you force through a no, the sympathetic system surges, leading to predictive error. The impact manifests in reaction time and the disposition of the following day. Practical, straightforward. Before making a request, dedicate 5 seconds to discerning all 4 cues. Establish a consistent gesture and verbal release command. Proceed with the task when all 4 align. Should one falter, reduce your demand, breathe, and recommence with a half step. Mini drill, 3 times daily, 1 minute each, solely to hone your reading and release techniques. No saddles, no lofty goals. You train your eye and teach its body to choose you as its return path. And your horse. Which of the 4 speaks loudest? The ear that finds you, the relaxed stance, the flaring nostril, or the approaching foot. Have you ever tried to decide the moment solely based on them? For 7 days? The hidden truth is simple. Respect is not tense. Silence. It is a subtle dialogue between 2 nervous systems. When you read early and respond cleanly, conflict doesn't even arise. If this helped you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. In the next step, I'll unveil the mathematics of timing, the 0.3 to 1.5 second window, the consistency that solidifies into a contract, and the invisible errors that sabotage trust. Want to master the right timing? Come with me. What if the margin between yes and no is a single second? You ask. The window opens between 0.3 and 1.5 seconds. There. The decision is inscribed. Timing is effective mathematics. Release the pressure within that window, and dopamine flows. The pleasant surprise seals the path. Too late. You register hesitation. The window breathes. In fear, it shrinks. In calm, it expands. Your first task is to minimize the noise. Slow breathing, clear request, Simple scenario. Consistency becomes a contract. The same gesture, the same word, the same relief. The horse learns patterns, not intentions. If each day changes, the map fractures. Use a bridge word. Initially, word and relief together, dozens of times. Later, the word gains value. Excessive talking erases the bridge. Common error. Pressure that fails to disengage. A continuous hum. The body desensitizes or explodes. Prefer distinct, clean pulses. Ask, wait, release. Another error. 2 questions simultaneously. Foot and neck, direction and rhythm. The brain doesn't know what earned the relief. Choose one thing. Mark subtly. Measure latency. Time between request and first responsive gesture. Today, 3 seconds. Tomorrow, 2.5. If it increases, something in the contract has failed. Short story. Pharaoh would freeze during the backing maneuver. You asked for a step. He froze. Bridge word. Micro touch. Silence. Half a step back. Relief within a second. 3 repetitions. A long pause. In 5 days. From 4 seconds to 1.5. A gentle backup, without pulling. Clear contrast. Escalating pressure extracts movement and ingrains defensiveness. Temporal precision invites movement and ingrains trust. A body pushed obeys. A precisely cued mind chooses. Practical, direct, simple protocol. 5 repetitions. Ask, count half a second. Any sign in the right direction. Release and remain still for 2 seconds. 3 breaths. Repeat. Between sets. A 1-minute walk. Useful tools. Utilize the metronome of his gait. 1, 2, cue on 1. Release by 2. Or your pulse. 2 beats for bridging. 2 for release. Record the initial sessions. Heed your own timing. And your horse. Does he respond more when you release early or when you provide further instruction? Have you tried marking and then remaining silent for a week? The seldom articulated truth. Enduring obedience is the sum of precisely timed micro-adjustments. It's not about volume. It's precision that transmutes into a sense of security. If this has helped you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. In the next installment, I reveal a hidden risk, when calmness is actually a freeze response. 10 signs to distinguish genuine tranquility from a state of blockage and avoid acquiescing to danger. Do you wish to perceive what the untrained eye overlooks? Join me. What if the calm you admire is a stuck alarm? Quiet isn't always safe. Sometimes it's ice that won't yield to force. In a freeze response, the dorsal system conserves energy. Pain and initiative vanish. He obeys, yet remains disengaged. Outwardly, peace. Inwardly, an immobilized state of alert. Common signs of this freeze: a fixed gaze with minimal blinking, constricted nostrils, a rigid jaw, a tubular neck, suspended respiration, still ears, an immobile tail, localized perspiration, automatized responses. In true peace, the opposite pulsates: regular blinks, oval, relaxed nostrils, a chewing jaw, a yielding neck base, a sigh, a swinging tail, oscillating weight. A brief anecdote: the mare seemed beatific in the round pen. You asked for a backup. She became petrified. Instead of pushing, you exhaled, changed the angle, gently touched her flank. Licking, yawning, a loose tail followed. The retreat softened. Simple test. Count blinks in 10 seconds, fewer than 1. Suspect a freeze response. Perform the sigh test. Exhale slowly. Wait. If nothing changes, elicit a